How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder. Today we will be recapping last night's game between the Yankees and the Blue Jays, as well as previewing the Subway Series, which will begin today. It's a special edition here on the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to everybody out there today. So, the Yankees, for the first time in franchise history, were swept in a four-game series by the Toronto Blue Jays. That has never happened until yesterday. Yankees lost by a final score of 8-5. Clark Schmidt left the game early with forearm tightness. They are waiting on his MRI results, which they're not going to be good. They're not going to be good. He's going on the IL. 15-day IL, but I have a feeling it's going to be for a lot longer. So that's a problem. Yankees saw a little bit of Clayton Beeter last night. If you remember, he was the pitcher that the Yankees acquired in the Joey Gallo trade when they traded him to the Dodgers. And he was not good. Was not good. 3 hits, couple of walks, gave up 3 runs, pitched an inning in 2/3. And this is when the Yankees were mounting a little bit of a comeback. You know, they were down. Well, they were down 3-1. And then Anthony Volpe actually drove in a runner, Jason Dominguez, an RBI single. And then a wild pitch scored Volpe. So the Yankees tied the game. And I was like, all right, good. But then David Cohn alluded to it. He said Clayton Beeter's ready to go into the game. And you knew right then, well, something must have happened to Clark Schmidt. So Clayton Beeter came in, and he gave up a 2-run double to Nathan Lukes, who actually put up a great at-bat, kept fouling off pitches, and eventually got a 3-2 pitch that was actually out of the zone, and he hit it down the line. That scored a couple of runs. And you knew right there, yeah, the Yankees are definitely not winning this game now. They have no chance. Addison Barger, who killed the Yankees in this series, he hit his 11th homer in the bottom of the 5th to make it 6-3. Yankees scored a couple of runs in the top of the 7th. Jazz Chisholm hit a ball off the wall that scored Aaron Judge, and then Volpe grounded out. That scored Cody Bellinger. So they were down 6-5. They were within striking distance. Luke Weaver comes in and gives up a 2-run homer to George Springer, and the Yankees ultimately lost 8-5. Yankees actually out-hit the Blue Jays yesterday, 12-11. 4 hits from Jason Dominguez. How about Jason Dominguez? And he is leading off today. Many people were speculating that he was going to be out of the lineup today because that's what seems to happen sometimes is he has a good game, and then Aaron Boone rests him the following day. But rest assured, everybody, Jason Dominguez will be in the lineup today against the Mets, batting leadoff, with Judge batting second. But this was just a disastrous series. And yesterday, the Yankees, despite scoring 5 runs, they were 2 for 14 with runners in scoring position. They left a total of 12 men on base. Nice. Nice. And to bring up George Springer again, so Addison Barger had a big series. George Springer as well. 571. He went 8 for 14. 571 batting average. With 4 homers and 11 ribbies. That's the George Springer of old. Killing the Yankees. And Addison Barger, I guess, is the new Teoscar Hernandez now, because he had a good series too. Yeah, he had some home runs. The Blue Jays, they really beat down the Yankees this series. They ran on the Yankees. They were aggressive on the base paths. They were grinding out at bats, making the Yankees pitchers work. That's why you saw Carlos Rodon not go that much into the game, go deep into a game, because that's what the Blue Jays do, and they don't strike out. They put the ball in play, and that usually, when that happens, that doesn't bode well for the Yankees defense as of late, because they can't make plays defensively, especially on the infield. Volpe made a couple of bad plays. DJ LeMahieu just doesn't have it over at second base. Jazz Chisholm playing out of position. It's just the Yankees have reverted back to what they were last year. And going into this year, it was a priority. They want to fix the team and their defensive makeup. And you thought they were doing that. Jazz is back at second. But now, Oswaldo Cabrera got hurt. Jazz was hurt. Then LeMahieu came back before Jazz, and they stuck him at second. Now they're like, all right, we'll just stick Jazz over at third base. Weren't we trying to avoid that? And Aaron Boone said he doesn't want to play, Peraza. He doesn't want to play Peraza at third and put Jazz back at second because he doesn't want to constantly be moving them. And now you're seeing the reports out there. The Yankees are looking to put Jazz back at second. They're trying to get a third baseman. Yeah, because this isn't working. This isn't working. And also, the Blue Jays ran on the Yankees. You had a deep fly ball to center field by Alejandro Kirk. This was when the Yankees, pulled off that comeback to tie the game up at 8. Or at 9, sorry. At 9. And both runners tagged up. And I was watching Talking Yanks in their recap of the series, and they showed, the view of the entire field and critiquing Volpe for not covering second because, Volpe and Vlad are racing to second. And maybe you would have had to play at second and got him out, and maybe you would have got out of the inning. It's just not looking good. And it amazes me, the stat that we saw, and it just kept going up. The amount of guys that Volpe has left on base, and that continued to go up. And I think now he leads the majors now. He's past Nick Castellanos. The one positive I'll take away from this series, Jason Dominguez just looks like he's getting into a rhythm. He looks like he's breaking out. Needs to be in the lineup every single day. To be honest, look, Trent Grisham or Cody, well, more so Trent Grisham. But Trent Grisham's been solid this year. But it's just, Dominguez, you got to find a way to play him every single day. Judge, obviously, you keep him in. Or maybe you put Stanton on the bench. At times. Stanton's going to have to see the bench a little bit. But again, the contract. It's tough right now. Blue Jays find themselves in first place. And I posted a short yesterday because before this series, I said, well, the Blue Jays could find themselves in first place if they sweep the Yankees, but I don't see that happening. And that's exactly what happened. Swept them in 4 games. There is a lot that is wrong with this team right now. And it's going to be hard to fix every single issue. Yankees had to bring up a couple of guys because of the injuries. We're going to see Scott Efros again in this series against the Mets. But the bullpen's tired. Luke Weaver he doesn't seem to have it since coming back from the IL. George Springer really beat him up. Hits the grand slam and hits the home run yesterday. I think Weaver will figure it out. But if this continues, you got to be concerned about that. And now with Clark Schmidt going down, well, it seems like Winans is going to take over his spot. I don't know why they don't just bring up Cam Schlittler. I mean, what do you have to lose at this point? Guy's pitching well in AAA. Definitely has better stuff than Winans. I would bring him up. But you know what? This is why I'm behind the microphone and not working in the front office. I think that's what they should. That's what they should do. Because Luis Gil is not coming back anytime soon. But they got issues with their pitching staff. They can't score with runners in scoring position. And the defense is poor. And this is what got exposed last year. Dodgers scouted them, and they ran all over them in the World Series. They took advantage of defensive miscues. But to the Yankees, I mean, behind closed doors they care. But on the surface, you just think everything's fine. Now, supposedly Aaron Boone spoke to the team after the game last night. And according to Jazz Chisholm, Uh, Boone told them that they're the best team in the league and that, they shouldn't worry about this stretch. I mean, I wish I didn't hear that. Now, Jazz is somebody, that he even said it after one of the games against the A's, I believe. It was recently that, yeah, we're about to go on a run. I believe that we're going to get back to the World Series again. And look, I do appreciate the optimism, that kind of attitude. But I don't want to. At the same time, I just don't want to hear it. They're the best. We're the best team in the league. Remember when Aaron Boone said the league is starting to catch up to us? I believe. Was it after the Astros series in 2022 when they got swept? The league is starting to catch up to us. We're the best team in the league. You're not the best team in the league. You're not playing like the best team in the league, that's for sure. How about you be realistic and just say, well, and they say, we got to play better. I'd rather you just say that than say stuff that just isn't true. But the Yankees are in a tailspin. And I don't know when it's going to end. If it'll ever end. We just assume, well, maybe some of us assume just because, last year they went through it, 2022 they went through it, and they made the playoffs. But who's to say this doesn't continue to happen and they continue to slide and then they just completely fall out of a playoff spot and miss the playoffs altogether? It's definitely on the table. I don't think it will. I think they're still going to find a way to get into the playoffs. I did say going into this year, I had the Orioles winning the division. Now, that's obviously not going to happen. I had the Yankees as a wild card team. I did. And you could look that up on that channel. But then, once the Yankees got off to this good start, I said, well, now at this point, the Yankees, it's their division to lose. Because I didn't believe in these other teams. But the Blue Jays, give them credit. And they weren't 100% in this series either. They had no Bo Bichette. Because he injured his knee. But he did play a little bit yesterday. He pinch hit, and then he was a defensive replacement. But they had no Santander, who was not playing well. They're free agent acquisition. They don't have him, and they didn't have Dalton Varsho either. But these other guys, Davis Schneider, Addison Barger, they stepped up. They stepped up in this series. And George Springer found the fountain of youth. But this team is now in first place. Give him credit. Give him credit. Still got a long way to go. But they are on top of the AL East as we speak. And for the Yankees, I don't know. It's tough right now. But you just got to hope that they somehow find a way to have, to acquire some pitchers, maybe get another bat, try to reload, and keep going. That's what they need. But it's doom and gloom right now. So, a very forgettable series north of the border. A very forgettable series. And now, they will be taking on the New York Metropolitans. And the Mets have been going through their struggles as well. It hasn't been great. When they played the Pirates recently, they got outscored, I believe it was 30-4. Their pitching hasn't been great. Similar to the Yankees, their bullpen is tired. I think they're using an opener for today's game. But they have won their last two games. They won again last night. David Peterson Pitched a solid outing. But yeah, you got a lot of guys that are hurt in their rotation. Griffin Canning, Kodai Senga. I think Tyler McGill is also hurt. Still waiting on Sean Manaea to come back. So yeah, Mets are going through it too. I don't think as bad as I mean the way things are at this very moment. I don't think it's as bad as the Yankees, but they're both very close. They're both very close. Last time these two teams met, they were two first-place teams. The vibes are different. And also, Juan Soto has been on a tear. He won Player of the Month. I think he's going to have a good series. Last time around, I said the same thing. That didn't happen. Didn't pick up an extra base hit. Really didn't do much in that series at all. But this time, Juan Soto's going to go off. Just the way that things are right now, I think Soto's going to go off. And I think we could see what we saw last year, where the Mets just outclassed the Yankees in every way. That's how down I am right now. Now, the Yankees do have Carlos Rodon and Max Fried going in this series. I didn't see a starter listed for Sunday's game. But tomorrow's going to be Carlos Rodon against Frankie Montas. I expect Frankie Montas to pitch a good game. I do. I think he's going to go out there and pitch well. Yankees got Marcus Stroman today, who did pitch well against the A's. But, I don't know, against the Mets, it'd be nice for him to stick it to the Mets because that would benefit the Yankees, but I don't think that's happening. He'll be going up against Justin Hageman. So it could be I think it's a bullpen game for the Mets. But yeah, I really don't like the Yankees going into the series. Like, even if they have a lead going into the later innings, the way this bullpen has been, do you really think that they're going to be able to hold on to the lead? I don't think so. And the Yankees' bullpen is usually a strength. It's not a strength right now. It's a major weakness. But that's what it was last year, too, and then they figured it out. They need to have a trade similar to 2017 when you got Tommy Kahnle and David Robertson. You need something like that. You need to get two quality arms. And I think they'll find that. Maybe it's not going to be a big name. It could be like, when they got Clay Holmes. Remember, we all loved Clay Holmes when the Yankees first got him. Maybe it's something like that. They get two arms. Matt Blake is able to work his magic. And then you got yourself a better bullpen again. Or it could go horribly wrong. But I just think with the shorthanded bullpen, I just think right now, and they scored runs in the series against the Blue Jays. But there's a lot of guys that they left on base. So I expect that to continue. I'm just very down on this team right now. I tried to remain positive. I kept saying it over and over again when they would lose a series. Don't let it continue. Because I was afraid of that summer swoon to happen, and it's happened again. And I even said before the game yesterday, I said I fully expect the Yankees to lose this game. Or that game. And they did. But we'll see. It's just. But I'm getting annoyed with the it's just baseball. It's just. I mean, I guess you could say, well, what else are they going to say? Judge is saying we're not going to panic. No, you don't want to panic. That's going to make things worse. But also, don't be delusional. Like, don't call yourselves the best team in the league. Because you're not. Like, even when they were in first place, I wasn't saying, yeah, this team is the best team in the league. What I said was, this Yankees team is pretty good. And I think that was a fair assessment. But I wasn't saying, oh man, we're going to beat the Dodgers this time. We're better than all those teams in the National League. No. I said this team is a good team. This team is a playoff team. Let's see what they could do when they get to the playoffs. And I believe they still will make the playoffs. But the division, not a guarantee. And if they're in a 3-game series, if they're in that wild card round, short series, I don't like their chances. Do not like their chances in a short series. But they do have the guys to turn it around. They got the best player on the planet. Jazz Chisholm's been on a tear. Cody Bellinger's looked good. Dominguez. Max Fried and Carlos Rodon at the top of the rotation. They do have the guys to turn it around. They need to add to them. And they need to do it fast. But could you imagine if this season really just spirals out of control and they just miss the playoffs entirely? How bad is that going to look? Would anybody lose their job? Probably not. Probably not. But we will see, everybody. It's like I said, very doom and gloom right now. Very doom and gloom. Could they win this series against the Mets? Absolutely. I'd look to just avoid a sweep. Like, win at least one game, and I'll be happy. No, not really. I'd like them to win. I'd like them to win the series. I mean, we could see a lot of fireworks today with the pitching matchup we got. But it's, I don't know. And you thought, like, the Yankees maybe have learned. Like earlier this year when Devin Williams was struggling in the closer role, they took him out of the role early on. Rather than last year when they left Clay Holmes as the closer until later in the year, when they finally were like, oh yeah, maybe we should change that. After Clay Holmes gave up I think it was a walk-off grand slam against Texas. It was a walk-off home run regardless, but either way. You thought they learned, but now, like with the defensive alignment, nothing. You don't think, why don't we put Jazz back to second, put LeMahieu at third? I don't know. Got to turn it around. But they're not completely done. Right now, they're just out of first place. Can no longer say they're in first place. The Blue Jays are. Blue Jays are playing good baseball right now. And, it would not surprise me if when we speak again, they'll be in third place. Because the Rays are right there. Yankees and the Mets. Subway Series Part 2. What will that bring us? We will find out. But I'm not very optimistic. I'm going to say the Yankees at least get one game. But I think the Mets are winning this series. Mets are winning it. Because the Yankees are just not playing good baseball. They're not playing good baseball. And yeah, the Mets are not playing good baseball either. But I don't know. I think the Yankees are playing worse. I think, they could have leads in the later innings. But I just, the bullpen is just completely taxed. Guys are not pitching well. That's how I feel. But hopefully the next time we speak, Yankees have a series win under their belt. And I'll say I was wrong there. I was wrong about the Blue Jays sweeping the Yankees. I said that wasn't going to happen, and it happened. So maybe, I said, the Mets probably will win this series. Maybe that won't happen. I don't know. But I hope everybody enjoys their holiday weekend. Better days are ahead. Hopefully. I don't know how much longer I could say that. So just hang in there. We're going to get through this. And the Yankees will be playing better baseball. Eventually. Maybe last week of the season. All right. As always, everybody, make sure to follow us on the social media accounts in the description below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to us as well on Spotify and all the other platforms where you get your podcasts. And as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off. Have a good one. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.